What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another video. In this video, I will be unboxing the second rarest model of some of the most well-known Daron Realtoy exclusive models, and that is the Qatar Airways Boeing 787 single plane with silver wings. So this model is one of 4 total Qatar Airways Realtoy models, with the others being the A380, which is the most common, the newer 787 model with white wings, and the 777, which is the rarest. This is my second Qatar model in my collection, as I did get the A380 airport playset roughly 2 years ago, and for this video I will do some comparisons with the two models together, but I won't do a full review of the A380 playset. I did make a review video on the A380 set previously, and if you would like to check that out, I have the link posted here or in the description. As I mentioned before, the Qatar Airways models are one of, if not the most well-known Daron Realtoy exclusive models, meaning they are only distributed in specific parts of the world and can only be purchased in specific places. The Qatar models have kind of gone back and forth over the years, from people considering them as extremely rare and others being able to buy them in large quantities because they visit a Doha airport. My honest opinion on the Qatar models is that yes, they are rare for collectors outside of Asia and Europe because it can be difficult to find ones that ship to your country, but these planes are very common and easily accessible in Qatar, especially in Doha airports, which is where most people get them. And previously, Realtoy produced these models and they were distributed by Premier Planes, but now I am confident that Daron is still manufacturing them, but I'm not sure if the distributor is Daron or not. If someone has purchased a new Qatar Airways model made after 2024 and could let me know down in the comments who it says the distributor is on the back of the box, that would be great. But as for the 787 model, this is the only Qatar model that has been updated over the years, and it used to have silver wings like the one I have here and was updated to have white wings within the past 2 or 3 years or so, which means there are now 4 different Qatar models with 2 variants of the 787. I believe all 3 of the Qatar models started being produced at the same time, possibly around the mid-2010s. Like I mentioned before, they can really only be found in Doha airports, but do pop up on eBay every so often. This one right here I actually found on a German website a few months ago directly from Germany, and I was able to get it with the help of Realtoy Planes on Instagram. Another huge shout out to him, as he has helped me get quite a few models over the years. Please go check out his Instagram page, linked in the description. The A380 playset I had actually purchased just off of the usual eBay located in the US, so it was very convenient. The A380 is the only Qatar Realtoy model that is manufactured as both a single plane and a playset. I actually think the new condition single plane version of the A380 is quite rare for some reason because I don't really see it too often. But the 787 and 777 models are only produced as single planes, with the 777 in general being their rarest Qatar model. So I believe that is all the information I have to say about the Qatar Realtoy models. Towards the end of the video, I will do some brief background on Qatar Airways, and as mentioned before, I will do some comparisons with the A380 model and the 787. So starting off with the box review, as you can see, the difference between the A380 playset box design and the 787 single plane box is pretty different, but I did realize that the A380 playset I have is one of the more newer ones with a different box design. The original A380 playset box had a full, the whole thing was pretty much in the burgundy color, and it had a very similar design to the 787 single plane box here, with this gray stripe on the top that had the aircraft name listed on it, and the whole thing was just in this plain burgundy color without any extra designs on it. So I'm not 100% sure when they changed it, or if the currently produced Qatar models have this newer box design on it. I have not seen any pictures of it, I don't think, but the playset originally did come in a box that looked pretty much exactly like this, but of course it does look a lot different comparing the older one to the newer design on it. But both of them still have the same general color of that nice burgundy around the whole sides of it here. The A380 box has a lot more white on it than burgundy, especially on the front and the sides, and the back as well. So definitely is very different, but I do like the new design here on the A380 playset compared to the other one, since the original design was kind of just more plain and kind of boring. So I mean, I do like the newer one definitely a lot better. I think it looks really nice on the playsets, and if it's on the single plane too, that would look really nice as well. But so Moving away from the playset because I have already reviewed this before and I want this video to be specifically more for the 787. So the 787 single plane, even though the box I have does have some damage to it, like here on the back, honestly, I think this is probably just from storing it, because if these were sold in airports, the original owner, if it had to get to Germany, they probably had to stick it in a suitcase, and it probably got damaged during the shipping, during the flight process and transporting it. Says I've had other planes like that before from souvenirs I've gone, but overall, the whole thing is still new condition, still has all the original tape on it, and has never been opened, but there is some of that damage on the box, but it still is really nice. The whole box is in that burgundy color, like I mentioned before. On the bottom, you have the basic warning label in both English and Arabic, and then you have the Qatar Boeing 787 on the top there as well. All three of the original Qatar single planes have the same exact box art design. The only difference between all of them is the different aircraft listing. Like this one has Boeing 787 listed, the 777 has the Boeing 777, and then the A380 has Airbus A380 written on there as well. I do like the incorporation of the aircraft on the side as well, and the white stripe going along the entire front, sides, and the back of the box. So the sides of it has the aircraft listed with the Qatar Airways, and the Arabian Oryx is the animal that I had to research before that, because I honestly was not really sure, which the Arabian Oryx is basically a medium-sized antelope, which I found out, because I never really thought about that before for the Qatar livery, and I was kind of interested, especially for doing this review, to figure out what kind of animal that was, so that is pretty cool. The bottom of the box has the Qatar Airways logo listed there again, all the same designs on the sides and pretty much all around. And then on the back of the box, you can see there is the original price tag there, which is pretty cool. I believe that is, never mind, that is not the manufacturing date, because there is not a month that is 75. I thought that originally was the manufacturing date, but definitely is not, because that's a 75 listed as the last number. So I'm not sure if there is a manufacturing date on here. If there is, it's going to be on the plane, because I do not see it on the box. But these planes should have a manufacturing date, but since it's Premier, I'm not 100% sure. I'll have to see once I open it up. But the back of the box is pretty plain. There really is nothing listed on it. No box or image, which I said before, if the newer single planes have that nice new box art design like the A380 playset has, that would be really nice if it has a picture of each of the aircraft, like the 787, the 777, and the A380 listed on the back there as well. But the rest of it, you see the warning label again and all the other Arabic writing there, since this is specifically made for Qatar Airways in Qatar. So that pretty much is all the entire box review. I mean, kind of like I mentioned before, there's not a whole lot on the box, but it still does nice. It ties the whole livery in together really well, and there is no mention of the airline on the background cardboard piece. But like usual for my unboxings, I will pause the video real quick just so I can take out the plane. I also have to do some cleaning on it, because I think because the box was ripped here, there was some dust that was able to get in, because I believe this is probably a model that was produced before 2020, so it's been there for over 5 years, and there has been some dust that has accumulated on the plane, and I have to kind of do some cleaning off of that. So one thing with some of these new condition planes, I do have to, even ones I want to keep new condition, I have to open them, because for some reason dust gets in there, and I want to make sure it looks clean when you're looking through at it. So I have the tape cut, and I will go ahead and take out the plane. So I mean, I guess with the back of the box kind of being ripped, that kind of does help the process of actually physically opening the box, since at least I don't have to worry about not ripping it. So I just still want to make sure I am careful with it, so that way I can keep everything all nice and together. So here is the Qatar 787 with silver wings. Like I mentioned before, there is some dust on it, but the whole plane is in great condition. It is fully painted. I have not mentioned that before, and well, that's great. It looks like the 787 has some of the undercarriage coming off there. I have a couple 787s like this. Not all of them are like that, but this is something that's common on these planes, where you can kind of like see right through it. And well, that is unfortunate, but the rest of the plane does appear to be in good condition. The cockpit windows are nice and straight, which is definitely a plus. But yeah, you can see right there the front portion of the undercarriage is coming off. I have several 787s like this. I think my lot Polish Airlines 787 is like that. Possibly Qantas one I have is like that as well. So that is unfortunate, but the rest of the plane is in great condition. At least the cockpit windows are finally straight. I have so many planes that do not have straight cockpit windows, so I am happy about that. But the rest of the plane is in really nice design. Doesn't appear to be any misprints or anything on there, so I do have to go ahead and clean it up and cut the plastic straps that are holding it to the cardboard piece. But overall, definitely really nice livery. The Qatar livery is personally one of my favorites. I mean, it kind of is simple, but I really do think the coloring perfectly matches everything and really goes nicely together, and it looks really good on all of the aircraft in Qatar Airways' fleet, and personally is just one of my favorite airlines. Especially the tail on the Qatar Airways livery. I really do like the incorporation of the Arabian Oryx. I think it is a really nice addition to the livery, and lots of planes too. Lots of people like it when aircraft have animals incorporated into the design, so it definitely is really nice for the whole airline. So I will go ahead and pause the video real quick so I can get the plane cleaned up and removed from the cardboard background. So here is the Qatar Airways Boeing 787 with the A380 and the two vehicles in the background. I'll start off with reviewing the 787 and then go into the comparison with the A380 and just showcasing the vehicles here in the background because they look nice with the plane. So starting off with the review of the 787. So I did just mention before when I had taken it out of the box that the plane does have kind of the undercarriage by the nose is, I'm not really trying to explain it, but it's not bolted in correctly here. There's this bolt that goes into the front of it and something that goes along with the design of the 787 model and the mold. Sometimes for lots of these planes, it does not fully connect, and you can see there is kind of a gap that's right there. If you hold it up to a light, you can see it a lot better, but you can kind of see that little gap that is in between from where the metal meets with the plastic, since the top portion is the die-cast metal, and then the undercarriage and wings, engines, and stuff is all of the plastic. The metal is the rest of the fuselage and the tail, and then the bottom portion has all the plastic pieces in it. So it just is unfortunate for some of these planes. I do have ones that are worse, though. This is not the worst one I have, which that is definitely good. And I guess it's really not too noticeable when you kind of looking at the whole different plane. But if you look specifically at the nose, it is definitely a lot more noticeable. But I did notice a couple other kind of manufacturing issues here. Just some little scuffs in the paint. There is one here on the back towards the rear where the tail is and where the plastic piece was kind of covering it, and there is another one here on the nose as well. But overall, they're not too bad. I mean, I could technically fix that with paint, but normally if it's a manufacturing thing, I kind of just like to keep it just because it gives the plane a little bit of character. But overall, the cockpit windows are nice and straight, which is definitely nice. I mean, yeah, you can see that little speck on the nose, so that is a little unfortunate. But I can see if maybe it'll rub off it with just some paint that was left over, just some debris from whenever the plane was being manufactured. But overall, it is nice to see that the cockpit windows are nice and straight, and they have the nice 787 design there for those. So at the front of the plane, there is the first cabin door right beside the Q for the Qatar Airways logo, and then the Qatar logo in all caps in that nice burgundy color. Only the Qatar logo and then the Oryx on the tail are in that burgundy coloring. So behind the Qatar Airways logo is the Arabic writing. I'm not really sure what exactly that says. I'm kind of assuming it just says Qatar Airways, or just Airways or something like that. That is in the Arabic writing. That is in a nice gray coloring there that kind of contrasts it. And also is the same coloring that is on the tail there as well. So the whole livery has really nice contrast, that colors that really do complement each other. And then the main fuselage coloring is in this nice light gray, which the entire paint for the plane is more in a matte finish rather than a strong metallic. The normal white paint for most Realtoy planes are very reflective, and this one still has a nice shine to it, but it's not too reflective, so when you hold it up to a light, it's not like unbelievably reflecting and you can't see the logos and stuff, so it is really nice. The cabin windows are nicely detailed and they are in more of a silver coloring. And I do like those. I think it does really look nice on the plane. It adds a nice shine to it when you're holding the light up to it. And then the engines on the plane also, they are in the fully white coloring and perfectly match the undercarriage, with the undercarriage being completely white. And then they have the Qatar Airways logo with the oryx on the tail, I believe, or on the engines, on the sides of the engines. I believe the background of the oryx is supposed to be like the sun or something, with the stripes that are in the gray. I believe it's supposed to be kind of represent the sun, and then you have the oryx that is inside of it. But I do really like the design. I think it is really cool that they incorporated it. It definitely adds a nice extra bit of character to add that to the engine. It does stand out a lot with the white background, and with the white undercarriage, it does look really nice. Then moving towards the back of the plane, there is no registration number on this aircraft, so unfortunately it cannot be does not have any real aircraft history on it that I can go over for this model. All the Qatar models, I believe, do not have registration numbers. The A380 I already know does not have one. I don't believe the 777 has one either, or the newly produced 787 model. But the back of the plane by the rear cabin door does have the flag of Qatar there in the white and burgundy coloring, which does have some nice good design there as well. And then the favorite part, my favorite part of the plane, is the tail with the oryx and that nice gray striped background, which again I believe is supposed to be the representation of the sun. Of course, you can't really see that on the tail, but on the engines you have the full logo there, which is definitely really nice. The paint on the tail appears to be pretty good. I don't see any really any issues there with that. On the other side, I did mention before that there is that scuff right there near the tail, but overall it's not too bad. It's really just because it stands out since the fuselage is white, and then you have the paint that was over it, since I guess the main fuselage coloring for this when the plane was being manufactured was start off with a base coat of the white, and then they painted it in the gray metallic coloring, and then they added the extra details later on, so that's why you see that scuff there was just the gray paint being rubbed off. But tail is really nicely detailed. I love the design on it. It does look really nice, and it really adds to the Qatar livery. So moving on to the undercarriage. The undercarriage is completely white, and you have the usual 787 landing gear with their... This one kind of reminds me of the pre-1993 Realtoy models, the original landing gear that the 747s used to have. That is pretty much the same exact incorporation they had, which I still don't understand why Realtoy does this, because I do have my Realjet 787 and the Star Alliance 787 have the normal Realtoy landing gear with just the small square and then the Realtoy logo on the inside. But for some reason, Daron and Realtoy did away with that, and they have this type of landing gear, which personally was why the 787s is probably one of my least favorite Realtoy models, just because it does have a lot of issues with it. I don't care for the landing gear, and the front portion here is kind of a problem, but I mean, the Qatar model is really nice. Believe it or not, I actually am trying to collect all of the Realtoy 787 models, so this one was a great addition to have, because I realized I actually have most of the 787 models that Realtoy ever produced, so I would like to make that a goal to try to get the rest of them, even though it's pretty much my least favorite aircraft that Realtoy has produced. But still is nice to try to get the whole fleet, and I'll definitely be trying to do that in the future. But moving on to the rest of the plane, the wings are in a nice metallic silver coloring there, and you see the Realtoy logo, which is on the left wing, the bottom portion of the left wing. This is like all the 787s have right there with the Realtoy logo and the made in China. The newer ones will have the Daron logo, and those are usually ones made after 2024. But there was not a manufacturing date on the box, so I did not know until I opened the plane. So here you can see right there, it is October 16th of 2018, which that date was actually about a week and a half ago. So I guess happy belated birthday to this plane, which was now 7 years old. So that makes me feel kind of old, but anyway, that pretty much is the entire review of the 787 model. Overall, I love the Qatar Airways livery. It does look really great on this plane, and I do not have the White Wings one. I hope to get it hopefully in the future, especially if there's a Realtoy produced one. I'm not sure if it was after Realtoy shut down or before that it just started being produced. Personally, for me, I like the 787s better with the silver wings. I think it looks a lot more realistic and kind of adds a nice bit of contrast to it. I just feel like the White Wings is a little too much with the undercarriage and then the engines. I feel like the silver matches it a lot better. And especially because if it has white wings and then it's still going to have the silver engine cowlings, I think the silver wings with the silver engine cowlings definitely matches a lot better. I personally like this one a lot better. I think it looks a lot nicer as well. So moving on to the comparison between the A380 and the 787. So, I mean, as for design and general livery, they really are exactly the same. The only difference I did notice is that the engine coloring. So on the A380, the engine coloring is in the normal Qatar coloring with the gray background, the same coloring that is on the back of the plane. So you have that more light gray coloring on the fuselage, and then you have that same coloring that is incorporated into the engine design. While on the 787, it is just simply the white coloring on the engines. That really is the only difference, and of course A380 has little sharklets that are painted nicely in that burgundy coloring. Definitely ties the whole plane together, but since the 787 does not have any sharklets or winglets or anything, they're not going to paint anything on the tips of the wings. But the A380 does have nice straight cockpit windows. There is no manufacturing issues with this one. As for the rest of this livery, I think everything is pretty much the same. I do think the one difference is I think the paint is a little bit more metallic on the A380. You can kind of see there the reflection of the lighting. It's a little bit different on the A380. You can definitely see it a lot more than on the 787. But the A380, this one actually was manufactured. It has the date there on December 20th, 2021. So this one is a few years older, or a few years newer than the 787. So, and since it also has the different box design, I guess Realtoy might have updated it later on. I'm not sure if there's any newer 787 models, how different they are, if they changed it or anything. So, but I mean, that pretty much is the entire review and comparison. The two models definitely look really nice together. I'm really happy to finally have both of them in my collection now. I really just need the 777, but to complete the fleet, I really need to have the 787 with the white wings as well. But these two planes do look really nice together and perfectly complement each other with their liveries and designs and everything. It is unfortunate that they don't have registration numbers, but considering that most usually exclusive Realtoy planes have registration numbers, but these ones don't, so it is a little disappointing. But overall, the planes are really nicely detailed and do look really nice together. And then with the 787, if it were to come with a playset and have these vehicles in there as well, it would also look really nice if each of these planes had their own playset. I also think it would be cool if the Qatar models had a twin playset, if they had maybe the A380 and 77, or the 787 and a 777. I think that would also be really cool to incorporate those in there as well. But overall, that is pretty much the entire review and comparison for the 787 and the A380. So going into the background on Qatar Airways. So Qatar Airways is the flag carrier of Qatar, headquartered in Doha with their hub at Hamad International Airport. They were first founded on November 21st, 1993, and began operations on January 20th, 1994. When Qatar Airways started, they had just 3 aircraft, operating 2 owned Airbus A310s and 1 leased Boeing 767-200. Today, Qatar Airways operates a fleet of 260 aircraft between both the cargo and passenger airline, with most of their fleet actually being wide-body aircraft like the A330, A350, A380, Boeing 777, and Boeing 787, with the only narrow-body aircraft they operate being the A320 and A321neo, operating a total of roughly 30 between those two aircraft. Qatar Airways has been ranked the world's best airline for the 9th year in a row for its luxuries and quote-unquote consistent excellence. It really is amazing how an airline that is just over 30 years old has grown so much and has become ranked as the world's best airline. I do wish these Realtoy planes, well, now Daron manufactured models, were more accessible and sold on websites, because they really are greatly detailed models, and I do really like Qatar's livery, so it makes these models even better, in addition to them being fully painted. But I guess with them being exclusive for Qatar, that does add to the collector value and the excitement of getting them. I really hope to find a Realtoy version of the White Wing 787 and a new condition 777 at some point to complete the Qatar fleet, but for now I am very glad to have the A380 and 787 in my collection. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know down in the comments what your thoughts are on these models and if you have one of the Qatar Daron Realtoy models in your collection. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.